All right, so let's do this example number 1. So we're going to use the inverse operations to isolate the unknown variable in a scientific formula. That's what we're doing in this section, okay? We're solving, in other words, we're going to make it look like x equals some stuff. So we're going to have one variable on one side of the equal sign and all the other stuff on the other side, okay? So the formula for density is equal to the mass over the volume. Lead has a very high density of 11,340 kilograms per cubic meters. Plastic foam has a very low density of 75 kilograms per cubic meter. The formula for density can be rearranged to solve for V or for M mass. V stands for volume, V stands for mass. So for A, and I'm just going to explain this to you, and then we'll do an example problem at the end. It says a sinker on a fishing line is made with lead and has a volume of 0.0000015 cubic meters. What is the mass of the sinker? Well, you can rearrange the formula. In fact, if you go on a computer, let's do that. I'll show you something. Like if you go density calculator. So there's free density calculators on the internet, right? And I can enter in the density, I can enter in the volume, I can enter in the mass. So I could do, it says that it is 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, 15 meters cubed. So if I put in 0.1234.5, and we got to solve for the mass, I'm going to leave that blank. And then they tell us the density of lead is 11,340 cubic meter or kilograms, so it's 11,340, right? What the calculator does, this calculator automatically changes this formula and solves for mass. So when I hit enter, it'll tell me that my answer should be about 0.1701 kilograms. Notice that it starts with density is equal to the mass divided by the volume. First step it did was rearrange the formula and solve for M. Well, we don't need a fancy calculator to do that. We could do that on our own. So what I want to do is I want to isolate the M. So when I look at this original equation, I need to move the V. What is the V doing to the M? In other words, I want to make this look like M equals some stuff. By the way, if I write something down, you guys should be writing this down in your work as well. It's what you're graded on. When it comes to these notes, I look and I see if you write everything down, easy 100%. If you write half of the stuff down, 50%. So write everything down. All right. So what's the B doing to the M in that first line? Mathematically speaking. Is it adding? Nope. Is it subtracting? Yeah, it's dividing. What's the inverse of dividing? Yeah, so what we are doing, and we want to move the V, notice that we've multiplied both sides by V. So that is the multiplication. You guys should be writing this down. Multiplication property of equality. So now that I have this formula where I can just plug in the density and the volume and it'll tell me the mass, that's all I do. So the density was given to us up here. Way up here it said that the density was 11,300. So the density is the 11,300. We were told the volume, this is the volume, right? The volume of this. So then we plug that in for V, and that's that. When we plug it in the calculator and they round it up, it's 0.17 kilograms, and that's a mass. Does that make sense? All right, let's try to do part B then. Part B we got to do on our own. So we're going to take the same formula now, and it says design a life preserver that requires 3 kilograms of plastic foam to provide proper buoyancy. What's kilogram a measurement of? Huh? Weight or mass, right? So we know that kilogram is a weight, but in science we call that mass. So we would say that M is equal to 0.3 kilograms. Well, they give us a little clue. They said, hey, if you want to solve this thing, isolate the V. So we start with our original equation, and we want to get the V by itself. So in order to do that, the first step, I need to move, this is a little tricky, I need to move the V out from the bottom of the denominator. So I'm just going to straight up multiply both sides by V. Multiplication property of what? Equality. So we use the multiplication property of equality by multiplying both sides by V. Well, when I do that, I get dV equals M, but they want me to isolate the V. So if I look over here, I want to get the V by itself. What's by the V? D. What is D doing mathematically to the V? Multiplying. So to get rid of D, what do I need to do? The inverse of multiplying, which is, so I'm going to divide both sides by D. Okay. What property is that? That is the division property of equality. What's D divided by D? 1. What's 1 times V? It's just V, right? And then over here, I'm just going to write M divided by D. So then what is the mass? Well, my mass is 0.3 kilograms. And then what does D stand for? The density. Do we know the density of foam? Yep. It's 75 kilograms per cubic meter. So this is going to be 75 kilograms per cubic meter. The kilograms cancel, and I'm left with the cubic meters goes up to the top. So I just need to plug this in my calculator. 0.3 divided by 75. So let me have my calculator, my handy dandy calculator. So I'm going to say 0.3 divided by 75, and I get 0.004 cubic meters. Let me check my handy dandy teacher book. Yep, that's correct. Do you guys have any questions on that? Okay, cool. I'll leave